Hey, it's me, Julie. Hope you enjoy this episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. I have Kevin Colley on the show, and he is the director of sales at Bridge Senior Living based in Orlando. Conversation today really circled around the importance of, in his terms, blocking and tackling. You don't need a new strategy all the time. You got to work the plan, keep it simple, focus on the fundamentals. Don't get too stressed about the move outs. Work on the leading measures. Results are coming. You got to stay consistent. I love his message. I believe in it very much. I hope you enjoy. Thanks again for listening to the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. This webinar is brought to you by SalesMail, the #1 personalized video app for senior living.
Built on a powerful ROI and an unmatched customer experience, SalesMail's App Store ratings tell the only story you need to know. Generating higher click-through and conversion rates, SalesMail is a video app of choice for sales and marketing pros everywhere. Day after day, SalesMail users leverage video to build brand loyalty, create human connection, quickly establish trust, stand out from competitors, and get desired results faster.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. I'm Julie Podewitz, and thank you so much for joining us. I have a great guest today who is someone I met just recently, actually, even though we've both been in the business for quite a while. Kevin Colley, welcome to the show.
Nice to see you, Julie.
Kevin is the corporate head of sales at Bridge Senior Living, based in beautiful Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, not a bad place to be. Spend time.
Not a bad place to be. I think when most people think of Orlando, they think of, what?
I think Mickey Mouse and Disney, and yeah. So we try to stay as far away from those areas as we can, us locals, right?
I can imagine. Yes, I lived in Southwest Florida for many, many years. So you really get your rhythm around season and when not to go to restaurants and when to stay clear and planning time. And currently live in Nashville. And same, we don't have season. It's always busy.
Always season, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's planning time around traffic and all of that. So it's good to have you on the show, Kevin. Tell us a little bit about Bridge Senior Living.
Yeah. So Bridge Senior Living, we are an owner operator across basically I call it the East Coast. It's really, I would call it if you drew a line kind of the center of the United States and went east, that's where we're based, and that's where most of our buildings are. So we have 25 buildings in 16 states right now, and ever growing. So it's an exciting time to be at Bridge, and we started as a REIT back in kind of the 2013-ish timeline, and have transformed into an operator as well. So we've been doing that this is year number 6 of kind of operating our own buildings.
Got it. And how long have you been with Bridge?
I'm at about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been in senior living?
Yeah, so I kind of reset my career in 2009. I became a sales director at a local community here in Orlando. So what's that, 16 years, which is crazy, right? Time flies.
It does indeed. So 16 years. What drew you to senior living in the first place?
Julie, I wish I had like this beautiful story like most people do in our business, and I don't. I had a client that was one of my clients was Emeritus. You probably know Emeritus out in Seattle, and at the time I sold to them in a different world, and I needed to be home with my family, my kids at the time, so I just looked for anything local, and so I became a sales director in a community, and I did that for about 10 months. Transitioned I wanted to grow, so I transitioned to ED. I did that for 2 years, and then kind of been in sales leadership since.
Very good. Well, a lot of people that have kind of fell into senior living, we want to drive people, all ages, of course, but bring awareness to greater awareness of what a great business it is to get into for people just coming out of school or changing their career. And I'm not sure how good of a job we're doing, but that's the goal. But so many people kind of fall into it, right? And then gonna fall in love with it. And yeah, because there are a ton of opportunities.
I do think you're right. Once you're here, you do fall in love pretty quickly. It's easy to fall in love with the business, right? Um, and I do. You're right. One of our charges, I would say, as an industry, is to try and invite the newer generation to come be part of our business, right? Because they're going to lead us into the future, and our business is only going to get X times bigger over the next, right, 5 to 10 years. So we need those talented folks joining our industry and seeing how great it is in so many ways.
Oh, I 100% agree. And then train, support, coach, because it's not an easy business, right? Especially in sales.
Yeah. Yeah, no, sales is a unique animal in our world, and but it's good. I mean, I love it. It's we try to keep it as fun as we can. But to your point, it's I our sales in our world. It's like, hey, you won, great, you won the World Series yesterday, but it's a new season today, right? So, and that happens 12 times a year, every year.
Yeah, that
So,
is the truth. Yep. You celebrate the win. Say, have a short memory on the loss, celebrate the
mhm,
win, and then we gotta keep going. Because like you said, it's a great, but it is a new slate. Same with the loss. It's a new slate, new day, new
yeah,
hour. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, I find that, I mean, it's difficult in so many ways. I think one of the reasons we have turnover, such high turnover in sales, is that it is a harder job than a lot of people might anticipate. And it does require, that coaching and the support and the clarity around, expectations and acknowledgement of how difficult it is. The it and and the consistency, because it is, well, it's very gratifying. It can be a grind too. I don't know if people really want to acknowledge that. And just like in sales, you got to pick up the phone. It can be a grind.
it. I agree with you 100%. I always relate it to baseball, right? If I make, I can be in the Hall of Fame by hitting 300. So that means I fail 70% of the time. And that's about what our business is. You fail 60 to 70% of the time, right? So you've got to be able to pick yourself back up and reset, hit the reset button literally on every single call you make. And I do think that sometimes we, sales leadership, can be the ones making it harder on our teams than, and making more stressful on them, because I think we sometimes just ask for numbers, meaning, hey, Julie, I got to have 6 this month, right? I got to have 6. But there's no follow up to tell Julie how to get there or support her how to get there. So I think that's one thing we can learn as an industry. We see it a lot. And we try here, Bridge, like to totally, if I ask you for 6, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you the plan. I'm going to support you along the way. I'm going to hold your hand through it. We're both trying to get 6. It's not just, so I think we as an industry have to get a little bit better at that. And I think that'll reduce some of that stress and anxiety, because you're right. It can be very hard when somebody's kind of hitting you over the head every month saying, hey, you got to have this. And you don't even know how you're going to get the first one.
Right. And in out net, right? Move ins, move outs net. And you absolutely have to keep an eagle eye on that. And as driving revenue, driving as part of the puzzle of driving occupancy, but not to allow, if you have 8 out that month, the acknowledge we have 8 out.
Right.
Yes, 8 in will net 0. And try not to obsess about that to the point of paralyzation, like, oh my gosh, getting like over over fixating on it.
Mhm.
And then for 12 times that month, someone says, we got to get 8 in, we got 8 out, we got to get 8 right. And so that, it really is that balance of acknowledgement and knowing, because you do have to know your business.
Mhm.
But on the flip side, how many times do we need to repeat that to sales leaders who are already under a great amount of stress? And a lot of the stress is self-imposed. In some regard, stress is good because it's the same thing with people who perform. You know, there's some level of, if you're not nervous before you go on, that I'm not a performer like that, but that people get to, even famous people talk about, yes, I get nervous before I go on, right?
Sure.
Because that's, you're wanting to do well, and there's that
Absolutely.
part,
It's
little
fun to
part that is
showcase, right?
good,
Yeah.
but not to like the point of uh beating yourself up or
Yeah.
paralyzed. And yeah, there is definitely, I would agree, definitely a way to communicate. What would you say, Kevin, from that from a sales director, somebody at the community, you said we kind of create our own problems sometimes, and you
Yeah.
talked about leadership. Does that hold true from a community level too?
Oh, 100%. I mean, so I think it goes to the ED and the sales. I think obviously executive directors are sales leaders in our communities, and we fully believe that. Um, and sometimes that, if that leadership piece, to your point, is creating anxiety because in your example we have 8 out, we tend to press the wrong buttons along the path, um, and try to do things differently than what we know typically leads us to success, if that makes sense, right? So I look, our business is hard, but it's simple at the same time, I think. And maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but I think that also helps our sales teams. When we do the right things every single day that we know to be true, we do the blocking and tackling every single day, we will have success. Sometimes we try to over strategize, we try to over innovate, and then we get very distracted, and the daily fundamentals go out the window, and then we don't have success, and we question why we're not having success. Hopefully that made a little sense.
Well, it kind of, to use your baseball uh, metaphor there. I don't play baseball. It looks like a pretty simple game. It's pretty simple to follow. The rules
Yeah,
are pretty simple, and I would make an assumption that there are the fundamentals that people keep practicing over and over. Like, we're not creating a new strategy on how to play baseball. Certainly you're going to analyze the other team and,
yeah,
work some plays and that, but it isn't meaning the strategy isn't recreated. Like, let's come up with new strategies. It's use the playbook,
sure.
use of the blocking and tackling, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I think the only, well, not the only, but typically you don't restructure the strategy unless you've done the fundamentals consistently, right? And there's a trend there, and that trend is not producing, then there's a strategy problem, right? However, historically, in my career in this business, is what leads to our lack of success is just we're not doing the daily fundamentals, yet we still try to reinvent the wheel with a new strategy every 30, 60, 90 days. The strategy won't, it doesn't matter what you have on paper, or in place if it's not executed, right? So again, I hate to dumb it down, but it's our business. We can be wildly successful when we do the basic fundamentals. We focus on our database, right? And we nurture the heck out of those folks, and we do the right things for customers every single day. When we focus on external business, and truly understand that, and I think that's a weakness in our business still right now, and we've got to get better at that. I think maybe we were pretty okay at it before COVID. And COVID hit, and I feel like we forgot how to do external business development since then. And events. We do those three things: focus on our database, do external business development, and drive new residents and or new prospects and or existing prospects to our communities. We're going to be successful, but that's got to happen every single day. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you're singing my song because I hear, what's the strategy? What's the strategy? Let's discuss the strategy for getting 8 in. What's the strategy? Let's put the strategy together. Let's put the marketing plan together. Don't need to create a new strategy unless, like you said, your whatever has been done over and
Right.
over is not working. There's an adjustment, but don't adjust until you assess
Mhm.
what is or what's not working, and you won't know that if there isn't consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. How about we just make as many phone calls a day as we can if we're struggling, right? Let's just say we have, databases full of leads, and, you know, the average inquiry to move in our business is roughly 10%. Hopefully it's higher for a lot of people. Um, so if I've got 300 leads in my database, there's 30 potential families in my database that need our help, right? So now it's just a matter of are we attacking that database in a great way, or are we not doing those things and trying to create something, to your point, something completely different when it's sitting right in front of us?
And it could be as simple as, how is time being used? For instance, uh, speaking with someone this week, a salesperson who holds grief support groups 2 and 3 times a month. Lovely thing to do.
Right.
Not what the salesperson should be doing consistently, because it's not lead generating,
Right.
right? So
Right.
so take that time, as much as you love to do it, you can't, that's probably 4 hours at least a month. So
That's a lot of
it's
hours.
a lot of hours. It's a lot of
Right.
hours. So, it could be that somebody pulling up out of your business and having that outside objective, maybe view, maybe you just didn't think about it, you enjoy doing it, right? But to your point, the blocking and tackling, to use your verbiage, what are here, that's the solving the occupancy puzzle. That's how my brain works too. It's
Yeah.
like, okay,
Yeah.
what are the pieces?
Yeah.
And that is the strategy. But
Yeah.
that's a simple strategy. Oh, you know what? I didn't even think about that. I could get 4 hours back on the phone, or I could take that time and do the external business development. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could, meet some people and lead them, because that is our job, is to generate a pipeline
Right.
and work it.
Yeah. I agree. And I think, to use your example, I think salespeople are helpers, right? We want to help everyone, right? We want to make everyone happy. And long story short, I was in an interview, probably like interviewing a candidate in Sarasota, Florida, about 6 years ago, and the question the ED asked was, "Tell me, talk to me. What does a team player look like?" And she gave a great answer. It was, help anybody, anytime, all the great things, right? But then kind of struck my brain that day, and I've kind of talked to our team about it ever since. I think part of being a great team player is being selfish, as well, which is completely contrary to the thought. If we're not holding up our end of the bargain in sales, right? If I have 80 associates, 79, how my mind works, 79 are spending money every single day. We got 79 people spending money every single day. I've got one resource driving top line revenue. So if they're not being very selfish with their time, if they're spending time at a grief support 4 hours a month, then we're kind of taking away, and we're kind of letting our team down a little bit in some ways, right? I hope that made some sense, but I always say, like, I can have the best housekeeper on the planet, but if they're such a team player, they're always helping culinary serve, but now our residents' apartments are not clean, then they're not really the best team player today, right? Because we have to. I'm not saying to be siloed. That's never what you'll hear me say ever. But our role, like we have kind of our role to do our job to the best of our ability, because it affects every other person on our team, our entire community.
That's a
So
really interesting way to look at it. I would agree, because
yeah.
you rely on salespeople to drive in sales. We rely on housekeeping to keep the building.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. We rely on dining experience, food, and that is the team player coming, the flywheel. We're
Right.
all coming to the proverbial table from our
Yeah.
perspective, and the perspective of what it is that our job is, what's our responsibility. And that's what and I'll say from sales, for me in a community, it's how many apartments are open. And that's the opportunity. And that is what you all are counting on me to do. Is
Right.
it, like you said, is it a team effort? Might you do a tour? Might you pick up the phone? Might you greet a guest? Of course. Might you talk to someone? Might you do a follow-up? We're all in it together. With that, it really to be the understanding and the empathy that, yeah, your perspective is different because you're coming at it from a different, it could be a room turn, right? In sales, we're like, okay, we're gonna have apartment, and maintenance may be like, oh my gosh, you're just on me all the time, and ease back, or look at my list, look at my punch item, look at all
Sure.
I have to do. Totally get that. It's not that sales wants to be irritating. It's not that maintenance wants to be, contrary, but, oh, yeah, so what do we, so how are we working together based on where we're coming from the table? But that is I'm going to take that away today, that being a team player isn't necessarily doing stuff for other people. It's doing your own job really, really well.
Kind of hold up your end of the bargain, right? I mean,
Hold up your end of the bargain. Yeah. Yeah. What's,
so
oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say to your example of like maintenance and turns, right? That's always one of those rubs, right? And I think that starts and ends with what's our culture in a community, right? I truly believe every community has to have a sales culture. And it's our responsibility. It's really our sales. It's really ED. It's everyone's responsibility to kind of initiate that and institute that sales culture. And I think sometimes we tell our communities what they need to do, but right to the key is they've got to understand. You use the word flywheel, or they've got to understand how this thing works, right? Understand you've got 30 tickets and tells that you've got to do today, right? Understand. However, it really won't matter if we don't continue to get move-ins, right, moving forward. And so I think we've got to take opportunities to celebrate. And I don't know that we always do that. We've got to celebrate our entire team and not just, hey, salesperson, great job on your 7 move-ins, right? That wasn't the salesperson's result. That was the result of an entire team kind of coming together. So I think that's so wildly important, is to celebrate the teams, because that's when you start getting buy-in. That's when they start seeing, hey, it was worth that day that I took 2 hours out of my day. I had to stay a couple hours late, but it was worth it because look at what we are doing together as a group. So, and that's a tricky one. Culture is always it's challenging, but you have to be consistent with that.
Acknowledging the win, right? And the course correction for not the loss necessarily, but the gaps, right? The gap gain, the whole gap gain, being focused, not, being very focused on the gap. And in sales, you want someone, we're wired in such a way that we are very motivated by the gap or the law. Like, okay, yes, you have 80 apartments full, but we have 10 that are open. Great. But we're needing to fill these apartments. There is such a balance. There's such a balance there that, and if you're not motivated, then you're in the wrong seat. But
Right.
such a balance of, and I agree with you that to step away, for a moment, even from the gap, to acknowledge the gap. And I think we are all potentially guilty of that, because we're looking always for what else. We got to get 8 in.
Right.
You're
Yeah,
behind
look,
on your calls,
you
right?
can't get to 8 until you get number 1, right?
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
you just do it incrementally. You have small wins along the path, right? And I think we've got to celebrate our teams as they do that.
Yeah.
'Cause we'll get them to 8, but we can't just go from 0 to 8. We've got to give them 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and do all the consistent and persistent things along the way.
Consistent and persistent,
Yeah,
which can be, kind of going back to the beginning, can be a grind on days. But acknowledge that, yeah, you know what today was? A lot of phone calls, a lot of left messages.
yeah,
We have a team of sales specialists, and they, a variety of different objectives, right? Based on what clients need. And sometimes it's that established, people say cold lead. Well,
sure,
guess what that is? It can be 2-3 hours of left message. Is anyone going to answer? And then when they do,
right,
one person responds, That's the win.
It's such a Does it feel great when you have,
Yeah.
move in that's been on our database for 8
Oh,
years, right? It's like the best thing of all time, right? So, and that's when your teams are truly working their database when those things
yes,
kind of come to life and hit. Um, it's really rewarding to see those wins for
it
sure.
really is. And it,
Yeah,
back to your, like, starting out with a statistic, if you're really, really, really good,
yeah,
you'll close less than half,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
you acknowledge that, you're not going to win every game. You're not
yeah,
going to hit every ball, all of that, but you still show up like you are. You're not going to not take the shot because you think you might lose, or, oh, I made
right.
the last 6 of them. Statistically, I won't make this one. Just don't think about that.
Keep shooting, right? Keep
Right.
shooting.
And yeah, so it's
Yeah,
like it's okay to lose it in a sense, or they may not be ready today, but in doing your blocking and tackling and
yeah,
being consistent,
that's it.
that person may or may not, but somebody will be
Yeah.
working it.
A
Yeah.
1000%. One more thing on the grind, and clearly I'll talk about sports sometimes with our teams, and the best athletes, and you can relate this to anything, theater, any entertainers, anything. The best ones in the world practice the most, right? That's the grind, and that's what we're doing every single day when we're picking up that phone for the 13th time in the last hour, and we've had 12 no's. That's the grind. The win is when that 13th one comes into tour tomorrow and you have this amazing experience together, right? And you help a family who are in a very difficult situation, and you see that entire family uh, kind of win because you cared about them and you poured into them. So those are the wins, but it does, to your point, it takes a lot of grind to get there. But we can't, going back kind of full circle moment here, we can't just continue putting strategy out if the grind isn't part of it. The grind is what gets us to executing that strategy.
Perfectly well said. Perfectly well said. Any um final thoughts or advice or something that besides the grind is
Yeah.
embrace the grind, anything for salespeople out there or senior living generally? uh
Oh, I mean, if I had to tell, I mean, gosh, I could probably talk for hours, Julie. I mean, this is what we do, and we have fun doing it, and I love doing it with our teams. I don't know. I would say just kind of along the lines of what we were talking about just now. If I were giving advice to salespeople, don't focus on, to your point, the one we need today. Keep that pipeline going. I always picture our pipeline as this people mover, right? And like if you go to the airport, you stand on it, it moves you to the next stop. Um, what we tend to do is we're so focused on those 8 we need this month. Those are the 8 people we focus on. They're still moving to the front door. The rest of our database that people mover just stops, and they don't keep coming to our front door because we stopped it because we're so focused on these immediate wins to solve this month's problems. But all we're doing is creating problems for the next month or 2 or 3 because we're not cultivating the leads that are on that people mover wanting to come to our front door. That because we disregard them, someone else is calling them or they're choosing to go somewhere else. So that would probably be the biggest advice maybe today is just keep that pipeline. When we say pipeline, it's not just your how many hots you have, it's the pipeline, it's the entire thing. And that's how we get those 8-year move-ins is because we continue to cultivate and nurture those folks. They called us because they have a need. Their need likely didn't change. Most seniors don't just get A, younger, or B, like crazy health change for the positive. Like they still have a need. If they reached out, they have a need. It's our duty and responsibility to give them a call and be a resource and help them toward a solution that best fits their needs, whether that's us or anywhere else.
Great advice. Kevin Colley, Bridge Senior Living, thank you so much for joining the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. Thank you all for listening. If you would like to learn more about Grow Your Occupancy, you can find us on our website, like, share, subscribe. That's the way more people can learn about our business, learn from experts like Kevin, and draw attention to senior living, right? So that we can attract more talent, which is so, so needed. Kevin, thank you again so much, and we'll talk to you soon. You and also all of you on the Grow Your Occupancy podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
This webinar is brought to you by SalesMail, the #1 personalized video app for senior living.
Built on a powerful ROI and an unmatched customer experience, SalesMail's App Store ratings tell the only story you need to know. Generating higher click-through and conversion rates, SalesMail is a video app of choice for sales and marketing pros everywhere. Day after day, SalesMail users leverage video to build brand loyalty, create human connection, quickly establish trust, stand out from competitors, and get desired results faster.